How much of each vegetable should you grow to feed a family?
What varieties work best?
What's best to grow for a beginner?
Should you start the plants inside or plant them directly in the garden?
What are the most important things to grow? Because we're more than farmers.
Even though it's snowy and icy and really cold here in Ohio right now, it's time for us to start getting ready for our spring garden. So today we're going to put in our seed order and we're going to give you all the details about the things that we're going to be growing in 2024. Our all-time favorite company for buying seeds is Berlin Seed. They're out of like Holmes County, Ohio. It's an Amish run company, and so you can't just go online and put your order in online. They do have a website, so you can download a free PDF of their catalog and then just call in your order. We have used Berlin Seed for years. I used it even like growing up. My mom would order from this catalog. And over the years, we've tried other companies here and there, but we always just keep coming back to Berlin Seed. The germination rate on their seeds is awesome. And one of my very, very favorite things about this company is that they have a lot of heirloom, open pollinated, and hybrid seeds, but no genetically modified seeds. We are not sponsored by Berlin Seed. This is just our favorite company. And you might want to put your seed orders in before too late, because we've told thousands of people about this magazine, so get your seed orders in. We have a handful of crops that we think of as our staple crops, and then we have other veggies that we just kind of use to fill in the gaps, and those are the ones that we'll be telling you guys about first. Later on, we'll tell you about the staple crops, and also we're going to show you some of our very favorite books that we use to know how and when to start seeds and when to plant them out, etc. This year, I would really like to plant enough sweet corn to actually like put some in the freezer and not just eat it fresh like we did last year. We planted Incredible variety last year and it was so good. It had like no worm problems really. It was just perfect. It was super easy to grow. In the past, we haven't grown much sweet corn for various reasons. One of them being we have conventional cornfields all around us, and so we didn't want the conventional corn to cross-pollinate with our sweet corn. Also, I used to have blood sugar issues, and corn is very sweet and starchy, and so it was the type of thing I didn't want to eat a ton of, but the kids love it so much, and so I decided that we're gonna bring it back this year. Sweet corn is one thing I do not start inside. I always direct sow it out in the garden. It has a really good germination rate. I have not had any problems with planting it outside. I still have a little bit left. I got like a 1/4 pound bag, and it did, I don't know, like 4 small rows, which was definitely enough for us for fresh eating. I'm gonna get another 1/4 pound bag and plant that and this year, and hopefully that will be enough for us to put in our freezer. Another thing that we are going to be growing this year, since we have more space, is dried beans. This is just another way that we can move towards more self-sustainability. In the past, I kind of gave these up just simply because they take a lot of space for how much actual product you get, and they can also be a bit time consuming just to sort them after you shell them and stuff. But this year, we have kiddos who are the age where they can actually help us quite a bit, so we are going to attempt dried beans again. They have lots of protein, and you don't even have to preserve them. You can just put them in these buckets, so they're a really, really great staple to have. The varieties that I'm going to try this year are Tiger's Eye and Dark Red Kidney. Dark Red Kidney is an heirloom and open pollinated, and Tiger's Eye is open pollinated, but not an heirloom. Sweet peppers are one of my very favorite things to grow. These would be great for beginning gardeners because they're so easy. They take like pretty much no work. I mean, you just plant them and then water them. I start my seedlings indoors for peppers. This year, I'm going to be doing a new one called Big Red. It says it's a thick-walled, very sweet red pepper, the best non-hybrid bell peppers. And then I'm also going to be doing Orange Blaze, which Orange Blaze is a hybrid, but it's so beautiful and so delicious that I can't help but plant it every year. I'm also doing California Wonder, which is an heirloom, and Jimmy Nardello, which is Cody's personal favorite, which is also an heirloom.
If you've never grown Jimmy Nardello peppers, you definitely need to grow those this year. I absolutely love them. I'm not just like a big, huge vegetable fan. I like meat and milk and things like that. But Jimmy Nardello peppers, I will go out of the garden and just eat those when they're fresh. And you won't see much of me in this video. I'm not feeling very well, so Michelle is taking this one on herself today.
This past year, I put tomato cages on my peppers. And I mean, seriously, my peppers got like this tall in the tomato cages. It was amazing. The next thing on my list to grow this year is green beans. So unfortunately, I can't find Carson green beans in this year's catalog. So I don't know why they're not in here. I'm sure there's other places online you could get them, but I still have just a few left over from last year. They're actually wax beans. They're not green beans, but they're this beautiful yellow. They stand out from the plant, so they're very easy to pick. I'm also going to grow some contender green beans. Those are an heirloom green bean variety that I really love. So I'll get like a 1/4 pound bag of those. And honestly, I'm not going to grow very many green beans at all. Last year, I grew 2 raised beds full, and I had way more green beans than I knew what to do with. I froze a whole bunch, plus I have a whole bunch of canned green beans. So next year, I'll probably just do like 1 raised bed full. I also grew the Royal Burgundy beans last year. They're an heirloom open pollinated variety, and I really loved them. They were beautiful, but they didn't have nearly as high of a yield, and they also got really bug eaten for some reason. So this year I decided not to do those. Green beans are a really great thing for beginning gardeners. They're super simple, and like they're very satisfying, I guess you could say, because you get a lot from one plant. Very, very simple. We grow a large percentage of our own food here in our homestead, but we do still buy some groceries. I'm very intentional about buying groceries that are organic and non-GMO, and unfortunately I can't always find those high quality ingredients at our local grocery store. I really love ordering from Thrive Market, which is today's video sponsor. We go through tons of beef gelatin in this house. Cody uses it in his chocolate milk, and I like to use it to make homemade yogurt. Unfortunately, I cannot find the good stuff, the grass-fed beef gelatin, in my local store, so Thrive Market is a wonderful place to get this. Collagen from Thrive Market is like half the price of what it is at our local grocery store, so this is a steal for us. Thrive Market is an online membership-based grocery store with a mission to make healthy living affordable. Another item that I cannot find at our local grocery store is organic bread flour. I really like to use some organic bread flour in with my sourdough loaf. It just adds some nice stretch to my spelt flour loaves. As a Thrive Market member, I save money every single time I put in an order. And the cool thing is that if I find a product somewhere else that's a better price than Thrive Market's, they'll match that price for me. You can tell that Cody put in this order because I found these in the bottom of the box. Healthy marshmallows, healthy being relative, but you gotta have some fun sometimes. These are non-GMO, and the ingredients are better than normal marshmallows. I also really like how the Thrive Market website streamlines shopping. They have a feature that allows me to sort through their products by dietary preferences. So for example, if I only wanna buy organic foods, I can click on the organic option, and then I will only see the organic foods.
You can try Thrive Market risk-free because if you don't make back your $60 membership fee in savings, they'll credit you the difference. And right now, if you use our link, thrivemarket.com/morethanfarmers, you can get 30% off your first order plus a free gift that's worth up to $60.
Whenever I look through the lettuce section of seed catalogs, I always get so overwhelmed. There's so many different kinds of lettuce. So I kind of just stick with winter density. And this year I'm going to try Michelle. Seems fitting. It's an heirloom and it sounds really great. A crisp Batavian style lettuce that has thick, crunchy, red tinged leaves. I've tried this before, really liked it. So I'm gonna stick with those 2 kinds this year. I like to grow lettuce in the spring as well as the fall. I don't even try to grow lettuce in the summertime. It's just too hot here. And my kids especially hate bitter lettuce. So there are ways to shade your lettuce and all the things like that. It's just not really worth the trouble to me. And when I did try shading it in the past, the leaves weren't as crisp and crunchy. They were more like delicate kind of. So I don't know. We just choose to eat lots of salads in the spring and the fall. And we're actually still, this is January, and we're still eating some lettuce out of our raised bed. It's supposed to get down like into the negatives this weekend, so I'm probably just gonna go and harvest all the lettuce out there and we'll finish it off this weekend. The only other green that I'm gonna get this year then is red Russian kale. So the only time that I actually use kale is for a soup called zuppa toscana that's so good. And I was just like, why wouldn't I chop it and put it in freezer bags in the portions that I need for soup? So I'm gonna do that this year too.
What about arugula? Arugula is my favorite.
I never grow arugula.
We're gonna get arugula.
Whatever. I always direct seed my lettuce. I never ever buy lettuce at a greenhouse or anything like that. Lettuce is also a very, very simple thing for beginning gardeners to grow. It literally takes no work. I mean, you just water it and watch it grow, and then it's delicious to eat.
No work being relative.
Once again, I'm going to try growing cucumbers this year. So as you guys can see, my cucumbers died. It's good that cucumbers aren't one of our staple crops because we would die. I stink at growing cucumbers. We have really bad cucumber beetles, also squash bugs, and I just have never been successful with cucumbers on this property. In other places, yes, but not on this property. So this year, I think I'm going to do diamant, I think is how you say it, and also homemade pickle. They're both like a pickling cucumber. And the reason I'm doing diamant is because it says, non-bitter trait is unattractive to cucumber beetles. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm just probably gonna grow like one raised bed full of cucumbers. We might try to put like a row cover over them this year. I'm not sure. You can see here I do have a decent amount of pickles canned. We already ate a bunch of these. But the only reason I was able to can so many pickles was because a friend in the community took pity on me and sent me like bushels of cucumbers. It was amazing. One of the things that I'm most excited about this year is growing herbs. So I haven't been growing tons of herbs in the past just to cut down on time, but this year I plan to grow a full raised bed full of herbs. Some of them I'm gonna start indoors and some of them I'm gonna buy at a greenhouse. Growing herbs and flowers at home isn't nearly as easy as growing like vegetable seedlings and stuff. So the ones that look worth it to me for the amount of time it takes to germinate, I will buy in this magazine. Herbs like parsley, basil, dill, anything like that, those are super easy. Here it says thyme takes 14 to 21 days to germinate. So I'll probably just go ahead and buy thyme at the greenhouse. Also sage, I think I'll buy that one at a greenhouse. I'd also like to do some calendula. I really, really love making lotions. I've done that in the past. In the last few years with a baby and now a toddler, I haven't had time to make lotions and stuff like that, but I definitely am gonna start getting back into that again. I also wanna do chamomile and oregano, and then nasturtiums and echinacea. We already have mint plants and those just come up every single year on their own. So I already have chocolate peppermint, apple mint. Here's stinging nettle that I harvested, I foraged it from our field. The other reason that I'm doing so many herbs this year is because Cody built a drying rack for me last year and it makes harvesting and drying herbs literally effortless. I just lay them on the screen and then I take the dried leaves and pulse them in my blender. The reason that I plan to do nasturtiums this year is because I've heard they're really good for keeping bugs down. So I was like, well, I may as well try it. And I like to every year do at least 1 or 2 different flowers. Last year I did snapdragons. This year I'm going to do tulips and nasturtiums. Just a word for beginning gardeners, never ever ever feel ashamed of buying your plants, your starts at greenhouses. I think it's a great way to support your local community. And if it makes gardening doable for you, then absolutely go to a greenhouse and buy your starts. Every year I buy sweet potato slips as well as cabbage and broccoli at a local greenhouse. Those are some things I feel just do better from a greenhouse in the very controlled, perfect conditions. If you're in the central Ohio area, definitely check out Yoni's greenhouse. We absolutely love that greenhouse. We personally know the people who run the greenhouse. We love their practices, all the things, definitely check it out. Before we move on to our staple crops, I just thought I'd show you our very favorite gardening books that have helped us so much in our gardening journey. This is my all-time favorite, The Year-Round Vegetable Gardener by Nikki Jabbour. This book, I love it so much because it has all of the dates of when you should plant things, which vegetables are cold weather crops, which of them are hot weather crops. It gives lots of varieties. This is definitely a winner. Cody's all-time favorite book. This is the one that inspired him to get more into gardening. He was very against gardening when we first got married. Elliot Coleman's The New Organic Grower. There's also another one that goes with this, 4 Season Harvest by Elliot Coleman. They just like go over all the how-tos of gardening. Great, great tips. Could not more highly recommend these books. This one is absolutely amazing. I know we've mentioned this before, but if you want to get into like growing root vegetables and then having a cold room to store them in, this book will help you so much. I look at this book every single year because it's amazing what all you forget during the winter. What am I supposed to say? The Berlin Seed Catalog also has, I can't say it. Berlin Seed Catalog also has seed potatoes that we really love. Last year we did Yukon Gold and Red Pontiac. Unfortunately, the Yukon Gold potatoes had some pretty serious disease issues, And we're pretty sure it was a seed potato issue. We are not blaming Berlin Seed though. They get the potatoes in from somewhere else. So this year, I don't quite have the nerve, I don't think, to plant Yukon Gold again. I'm for sure gonna do Kennebec and also Red Pontiac. Those have always done well for us. Maybe we'll do some Yukon Gold. We haven't decided yet. Stay tuned for that. We planted around 40 pounds of seed potatoes this year, and as you can see, it was more than enough. We still have like 16 crates of potatoes to work through before we harvest next year. Potatoes are the kind of thing that some years they do really well and other years they don't do quite as well. And so I think next year I'm gonna plant the exact same amount because we for sure wanna have enough because this is a staple crop for us. We really depend heavily on our white potatoes. Sweet potatoes are another one of our main staple crops. I feel like we did pretty good this year with amount. We might need a few more next year, I don't know. I did 40 sweet potato slips last year. It took up 4 solid raised beds. I might do a few more this year, I'm not sure. The Berlin Seed catalog does sell sweet potato slips. They'll send them out to you around the time where you should be planting them. I don't actually order my sweet potato slips though from the catalog because I just felt like if they come in the mail, they're not quite as nice. And they didn't adjust quite as well when I planted them out in the garden. So I get my sweet potato slips at a local greenhouse. That way I can get them exactly when I need them, and I just feel like they're nicer and do better. The kinds that we did this year were Vardaman and Covington. One of them has kind of like a pink skin and then a deeper orange flesh. And the other one has more of is lighter and has a little bit drier, lighter flesh. One thing that's really important to us when we're looking for varieties of sweet potatoes is to try to get sweet potatoes that have the potatoes right at the base of the plant. That way you don't have to like dig up your entire garden. I grew around 100 onion plants this year. A bunch of them didn't come up very well. The onion plants came a little bit too early. It was a really wet spring and I couldn't plant them out right away. And so some of them had kind of dried up before I actually got them planted. So they didn't do quite as well as some years. I mean, the ones that did grow were really nice big onions, but I just didn't get quite as many as I do sometimes. And we only have 1 crate left. So next year I probably will grow quite a few more onions. The varieties of onion plants that I am going to order this year are Patterson and Red Wing. I'm just gonna order 2 bunches, one of them Patterson, one of them Red Wing. I think there's like 50 to 75 plants per bunch. This year I'm also gonna buy some onion seeds and try growing some seedlings just under my grow light. And then I'm gonna kind of do a side-by-side experiment and see how the homegrown seedlings do versus the bought ones. My all-time favorite variety of carrots to grow that I will be growing again this year is Danver Half-Long. This year in the seed catalog, they're called Danvers 126, and we might also try another variety called Chantenay Red Core. It's also an heirloom variety and it looks very similar to this, so maybe we'll do a little experiment. And by the way, this is January and these are our storage carrots. They have a very, very great storage life. As for how many of these I plan to grow, honestly with carrots, I find it kind of hard to like tell people a certain quantity because like you sow them and then you thin them and all the things. I'm probably gonna get like the ½ ounce package and I just do a few rows in the spring, a few rows in the fall. I just kind of wing it honestly. Another one of our staple crops is butternut squash. We really love butternut squash because you can throw it in the root cellar and it will last forever. It is amazing. I saved my own seeds this year. I always do Waltham butternut. I have tried different varieties like honey nut, like the smaller, supposedly sweeter squash, but they did not last long at all in storage. And so I just always keep going back to Waltham. I'm just planning to do 1 raised bed full of these. I'm not gonna be excessive because they're very high maintenance for me with all of our squash bugs. I forgot, here I also saved some patty pan squash seeds. These are not a staple, but I just thought I'd show them to you since they were in the freezer with the butternut squash seeds. I consider garlic a staple crop just because it's so healthy. It's like this amazing source of medicine that I think is very important to have on hand. So I do consider garlic to be one of our staple crops. I just grow spring garlic. The Berlin Seed catalog just has 1 option for spring garlic. I usually just do like 6 to 8 bulbs or so. This year my garlic majorly failed. I didn't realize that I had planted it in very heavy soil, so it didn't do very well. So I don't have any left, but there's a ton of it in all of these sauces here. As you can see here by my canning shelves, tomatoes are definitely a staple here. For us, I make all of our sauces, barbecue sauce, ketchup, marinara, all the things with tomatoes. Last year I planted 15 plants and I had way too many tomatoes. I had tomatoes running out of my ears. I finally just gave a whole bunch of them away and just ignored them because there was no way I could use them all. This year I'm going to do Amish paste. That's my favorite. I'll do that until I die probably. And then Celebrity Plus, California Gold, and Sun Gold. Sun Gold is like a cherry tomato that's orange. They are so sweet and so good. Now that I've had those, I can't even eat the red ones anymore. I do really like determinate tomatoes. The California Gold as well as the Celebrity Plus are both determinate tomatoes. But the problem is you can almost not find heirloom tomatoes that are determinate. They're all indeterminate for some reason or another. So next year we're gonna have to figure out some better ways of trellising them because I do have issues with them just like falling out of the cages. Eden, what do you want?
I'm so hungry.
You're hungry. Another crop that we consider a staple is broccoli. The reason for this is because it's so easy. I plant probably this year I'm gonna do around 20 of them. I feel like they're pretty finicky under a grow light. They can get leggy really fast. So I just like to get these at a greenhouse. Broccoli is super easy to preserve, so much easier than things like green beans that take a whole lot of snipping. Broccoli, you literally cut the head off, take it inside and blanch it, put it in freezer bags. It's really easy just to throw on a cookie sheet, roast it with some olive oil and salt and pepper. That's one of my kids' favorite vegetables. It's also really good in a quick cheddar broccoli soup. We're in zone 6A, so this year's seed starting video might not come out quite soon enough for you, but you can watch last year's seed starting video right here to get all the information right now. And make sure to head over to thrivemarket.com/morethanfarmers to get 30% off your first order plus a free gift.